Today I am planting out the rest of my starts into my 2025 summer garden, and I'm excited to take you along. So I'm starting off here by planting the rest of my herbs. I'm planting a couple cilantro plants and a couple basil plants. Cilantro is one of the hardest things for me to germinate. I like sand the seeds, and I don't have a great way of doing that. I think I barely sand it, but I do the best I can, and I'm actually surprised I got a couple seeds to germinate. I do have a slow bolt cilantro. It gets hot here pretty quickly. I'm hoping I can get enough tomatoes and onions that I can make salsa before my cilantro has bolted. And then I am planting a couple basil plants. I'm kind of hoping maybe we can make a beer with it depending on how much I get. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, those are the rest of my herbs that are going to go out in the garden. In this garden bed, I am planting huckleberry plants. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure if these are the same huckleberries that grow wild in states like Montana and Idaho, but I found them on Baker Creek's website and I thought I'd give it a shot. I thought it'd be really fun to make some jam with it if I do get huckleberries. I'm not really sure how big they get. The plant spacing that's recommended is 15 to 18 inches, and I'm a little undecided on how many I can get into this bed. And I decided I'm going to put three in. I might regret that later. They may get way bigger than I was thinking, but I was kind of excited that these germinated and they actually look kind of healthy. So I'm going to go ahead and put a three in, and we'll see how well they do. In this garden bed, I am going to plant one zucchini plant and melon plants on the other side of the bed. This is a Ford Hook zucchini, and look at these roots. They're like over a foot long. I use bootstrap farmer pots, and there's a little bit of a gap between the bottom of the pot and the tray, and so that allows the roots to just grow crazy like this. So I'm only putting in one zucchini plant, and I actually ended up moving it about 6 inches towards the end of the bed after I planted it because I wanted a little more space for my melons. But yeah, this is a Ford Hook zucchini. I have not bought zucchini seeds in years. I've been using the same variety from the same packet for so long. It does really well here. This plant gets massive. It's easy to want to put so many plants in a bed when they're so small like this, but this one you definitely need to give it space. On the other side of the bed, I'm going to put melons here, and what I do is I just let the vines drape off the side of the beds and just go along the ground. I'm going to go ahead and put in four. So I know that one of the varieties, Minnesota Midget, I know that the vines only get to be a couple feet long. They're really not that crazy. So what I do is I plant on the corner of the beds like this, and then I just let the vines drape over the beds and they can just grow along the ground. That's okay with me. Like the vines don't have to be contained to the garden bed. And then now I'll be honest, I'm not sure how long it gets for the other variety. I am planting Golden Jenny, and it will be the first time that I am trying that variety. So hopefully I don't regret this later, but both varieties are a smaller sized cantaloupe. And a smaller sized melon is so important because it's just me and my husband, and we cannot eat so many melons. So last year I grew watermelon and Kajari. The Kajaris, they were okay. They weren't as good as I was hoping. And my husband doesn't really like that honeydew. I don't think he really likes cantaloupe either. So I'm not going to grow those. Instead, I'm doing the 2 midget melons and 2 golden jennies. I love the midget melons. They're so sweet, the perfect size. I didn't get very many of them last year though, only a few, even though the year prior I did get several. So that's why I wanted to try another variety, the golden jenny, to see if maybe it does better. I love trying different varieties of the same thing to figure out, what does better in my climate, in my soil. And then I might continue growing, that variety next year and maybe nix the varieties that I know didn't do well. I'm also not going to grow watermelon this year because the only ones I've been able to find are way too big. And between the watermelon and the cantaloupe, we just cannot eat all that. If I can ever find a variety of watermelon that's supposed to be small, like 4 to 5 inches, I would love to try that. I have yet to find something that small. So if anyone has, any recommendations for a small watermelon, I would be interested in trying that. But for now, I just know that we just don't eat that much watermelon, so no watermelon this year. Next, I am planting 2 cucumber plants that will grow along this A-frame. This is just hog panel with metal rings at the top. And I'm planting National Pickling Cucumber. Check out these roots, so long. Last year I planted Dar Cucumber on the other side of this trellis and National Pickling on this side. The Dar cucumbers did terrible. They did not grow. They were covered in pests, so I am not going to grow those again. Instead, I planted some bean seeds on the other side of this trellis, and I'm hoping those will germinate. So yeah, I'm just going to plant 2 of these. This gives me more than enough. It goes bananas. Honestly, this trellis is almost not enough. It does vine pretty aggressively. It'll go up the trellis. It'll be overflowing from the garden beds. Maybe because I just don't do a good job in pruning it. But I still have at least 1 jar of pickles from last year I still need to eat. So yeah, 2 plants definitely gives me more than enough. This trellis over here is also kind of experimental. On this side, I am planting loofah. Check these roots out. I'm planting 2. I grew loofah years ago in Florida and they did pretty good. I got several. I dried them and I got sponges, but I recently ran out of sponges and I'm hoping to get more. So I'm going to give it a go this year. I have no idea how well they'll do in Utah. Loofah likes a long, hot growing season. It's pretty warm, June and hot, July, August, and September in Utah. I think the season is long and hot enough. I do think I started these indoors a little bit too late. I wish I started them sooner and they were a little bit bigger, but it is what it is at this point. So I'm just going to cross my fingers and hope that this works out for me. The last thing that I am planting out in my garden is Armenian cucumbers. I've never done this plant before, so this is definitely an experiment for me. It's growing on the other side of the trellis, so assuming these plants grow and take off, I'll have Armenian cucumbers on one side and the loofah on the other. They both, I think, vine kind of aggressively, so it might look crazy, but the Armenian cucumber is actually technically a melon, but from what I hear and from what I've read, people still eat it like cucumber. So we'll see. These look super interesting when I see pictures, and I just think they look so cool. And it sounds like an interesting plant. So I'm hoping these take off, and I'm gonna put 2 of them on this side of the trellis. And that is everything that is going in my summer 2025 garden. I'm so excited for everything to start taking off and to be able to start harvesting from the garden. Thank you for joining me in my garden today.